What does it mean to carry a truth so heavy it could burn the world down? Elias Kane knew that weight better than anyone. For years, he'd walked through the ashes of his past, the whispers of a small town trailing him like ghosts. They blamed him for the fire that took the old mill, the one that claimed lives and left scars on the community's soul. It should have been you, they'd hiss, their eyes cold with judgment. But Elias wasn't in the fire that night. He was running from it, and the truth he carried was a spark waiting to ignite. The mill fire had been no accident. Elias was only 19 when it happened, a restless kid with dreams bigger than the dusty streets of Harrow's End. He worked the night shift, hauling crates in the mill's cavernous belly, the air thick with sawdust and secrets. The owner, Mr. Caldwell, was a man with a smile like a blade, charming the town while cutting corners that endangered lives. Elias overheard him that night, talking in hushed tones with a stranger about cleaning up loose ends. He saw the cans of kerosene stacked in the shadows, smelled the sharp tang of intent. When the first flames licked the walls, Elias didn't hesitate, he ran. He didn't tell anyone what he'd seen. Fear choked him silent. Caldwell was untouchable, a pillar of the town, and Elias was just a kid with a rap sheet for petty theft. Who would believe him? So he let the town weave its story. Elias Kane, the coward who fled, leaving others to burn. The guilt gnawed at him, a slow poison. He left Harrow's End, drifting from city to city, but the whispers followed. Each year, on the anniversary of the fire, he'd get letters unsigned, venomous. It should have been you. 20 years later, Elias returned. Not out of nostalgia, but necessity. His mother was dying, and she begged him to come home. The town hadn't changed much, same cracked sidewalks, same suspicious glares. But something in Elias had shifted. The weight of silence had grown too heavy, and he was done running. He started asking questions, digging into old records, talking to the families of the victims. The more he uncovered, the more the truth burned inside him. Caldwell hadn't just been negligent, orchestrated the fire to collect insurance money, knowing workers were still inside. The evidence was there, buried in forged permits and hushed-up investigations. Elias found a witness, to an old mill hand named Clara, who'd seen Caldwell's men leave just before the blaze. She'd stayed quiet out of fear, but time had loosened her tongue. Armed with documents and her testimony, Elias confronted Caldwell at the town's annual memorial, where the man stood at a podium, crocodile tears glinting as he honored the tragic loss. "You killed them," Elias said, his voice cutting through the crowd's murmurs. He held up the papers, his hands steady despite the tremor in his chest. The townsfolk stared, their faces a mix of shock and disbelief. Caldwell laughed, smooth and dismissive, but Elias saw the flicker of fear in his eyes. He kept talking, laying out the truth like kindling dates, names, numbers. The crowd grew restless, their whispers turning to shouts. Caldwell's charm unraveled as the truth caught fire. The aftermath was chaos. Lawsuits followed, and Caldwell's empire crumbled. Some in town thanked Elias, their eyes wet with gratitude. Others cursed him for tearing open old wounds. "It should have been you," one woman spat, her brother lost in the fire. Elias didn't argue. He understood their pain, their need for someone to blame. But he also knew he'd done what he could to set things right. In the end, Elias didn't stay. Harrow's End wasn't home anymore, just a place where he'd finally laid his ghosts to rest. As he drove away, the town shrinking in his rear view, he lit a cigarette and exhaled a long plume of smoke. The truth hadn't healed him, but it had freed him. Sometimes, he thought, the only way to survive the fire is to become the flame. The story of Elias Kane spread beyond Harrow's End, a cautionary tale of courage and consequence. It reminded people that truth, like fire, can destroy before it purifies. And for those who'd whispered, "It should have been you," Elias left a final thought. Sometimes, the ones who escape the flames are the ones who carry the spark to light the world anew.